Okay. Let me read it first. Malcolm X High School Student Council is planning a spring outdoor carnival. There's nothing in the first sentence that I would want you to underline. In the figure below, now remember they do a lot of wordiness to describe a figure. In the figure below, the locations for several planned activities are represented as X, Y, Z, P, and Q on the standard coordinate plane, where each coordinate unit represents 1 yard. Fine. The ticket booth is to be placed exactly midway between X and Z. Midway, and I just didn't have time to do all the red marks for you, and I should have. Midway here. So by midway, they're asking for the midpoint. And all you do is average your X's and average your Y's. What's 120 plus 20? 140. Divide it in 2. 70. All right? 140. It's 140. Divide it in 2. 70. So the midpoint right here, do it on your picture. It's number 52. So your midpoint is 70, 70. 70, 70. And they want this distance from 70, 70. And I'm going to show you how easily you can do it. Bless you. Okay, here's your other point. 100, 110. Okay, now, distance formula is the difference of the x's. Come on, what's the difference of the x's? 100 minus 70 is 30. Square it. What's 30 times 30? What's 3 times 3? 90. So it's got to be 900, right? And now, difference here, 110 minus 70? 40. And what's 40 times 40? Be careful, your number is zeros. Add that together. Very nice. Are you going to be an engineer? Oh, yes. Lady engineers, yes. A lot of money. Okay. And now it's just the square root of that. What's the square root of 2,500? 15. So please, whenever you're taking the ACT, please walk in and know how to find midpoint, average the x's, average the y's, and then the distance formula. Both of those show up constantly. Okay. I have to teach you SNO. Right. SNO. Okay, and it's not my creation. It's in every practice book for the SAT and ACT and whatever. Calculate the missing data value given the average and all the data values but one. And as I said, this is not my creation. It's in every practice book, and you did it back in probably 7th grade. How do you find an average? How do you find an average? Right. If I ask kids, how do you find the average? They'll say, you add them up. Again, somebody should have said to you, you add them up and get what? A sum. Right. It's the sum divided by the number of items, and you get an average, right? That's how you get an average. Okay. So you've got sum over number of items equals average. What's the Galorism? Don't let it hang, get a. And now you've got a proportion. What do you do to a proportion? Cross multiply. 1 times S is? Or SNO. Anytime they give you an average, don't set it up as a division problem because you're not dividing anything. You skip 2 steps. You go right to the sum of the items goes to the left. The number of items times the average goes to the right. don't set it up as a division. Now, some problems you'll have to do both. They'll have both s equals na and s over n equals a. The 5 positive integers a, b, and c have an average of a. So are they giving you an average? Yes. So what formula do you write down? SNA. Right. And then they want b plus c over 2. So you write down, come on everybody do it. Write down s equals na. What's your sum? A plus, come on, work. Beautiful. How many items are there? 5. And what do they tell you the average is? Come on, shrink your equation. A, and A is? Right. Keep moving. Keep shrinking. Come on. Wait. What picture do they want? Look at the problem. What do they want you to find? Right. B plus C over 2. You got B plus C. You got to get rid of this guy. Right, subtract 3a from both sides. I now have b plus c equals 2a. Come on, what picture do they want? A bar. Put it there, but whatever you do to one side, got to do the other. What else do they want in your picture? 2. A 2. Whatever you do to one side. And now, cancel, and you're left with equals A. Yeah. If they give you an average, don't set it up as the division problem. But as they say, in some problems, they'll give you a SNA, but then they'll say, what's the average of whatever? And you'll have to do both. But when I saw that spelled out in the ACT, that they definitely, and that they test that for a 23. It's not a, 26 or 27. And I put in a problem, it's not in your book, and it may be difficult. The key is, if you see the word both, it means that you've got 2 items, cross country, and downhill. And it says that you've skied in either that. And then if you say yes, did you do downhill? There were 28 yeses, 45. And how many skied both? Okay, Venn diagram. And again, do you see it's just 3 languages? Because you've got all English. You're translating to a diagram. They want to know how many did both. You've got cross country here, you've got downhill here. They want to know, call it X, call it question mark, whatever. Now, you have 28 that skied downhill. Total is 28. Total is 28. How do you express the part right here? Whole thing is 28. X is one piece. How do you express the other piece? I'm using mental telepathy. Oh. And what are you going to be? Who? So's my son. And then you can teach one day other people to be psychologists. Right. So this is 20, where'd it go? 28 minus X. Do you see why? Because the whole thing has to add up to 28. Okay, your cross country, there were 45, so this piece, that was excellent. So this piece is 45 minus X. And that whole thing has to add up to, how many did one or the other? 65. So you would just do 45 minus x plus 28 minus x equals 65, and you'd solve for x. The minute you see the word both, and they're talking about two groups, just go from English language to diagrammatic language, yeah, and then to math language. A dinner at Nassif's family restaurant consists of one appetizer, one main course, one dessert. How many different combinations? Please underline the word combination. Number 19. Underline combination. If you see the word combination, what are you going to do? With what operation? Multiplication. If you see the word, just write down combination equals multiplication. 5 times 4 times 5 is? Thank you. There were 5 appetizers, 4 main courses, 5 desserts. If you just multiply those together, if you see the word combination, you just multiply. However, if you see the word arrangement, like, and there wasn't one of these on this test. If you have, let's see, flowers. If you have flower pots on a windowsill and you've got a daffodil, a rose, a petunia, and a weed, and a weed. Okay, and a weed. How many different ways can you arrange those? If you see the word combination, you're going to multiply. If you see the word arrangement, you have to do factorial. And what's that mean? 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. There's 4 arrangements, 4 different that you could put in the first, and then 3, and then 2. And so there'd be, what's 4 times 3 times 2? 24. There'd be 24. Say they were lined up, in a row like that. How many different, I could have my, whatever that was, daffodil first, then the rose, then the petunia, then the weed. Or I could do the daffodil, the petunia, the weed, and the rose. In other words, there are 24 different arrangements. Arrangement, you have to break it down. Combination, you just multiply. The answer was E. Now, look at yours rather than the one up here because it's harder. If you have an open circle, it means it doesn't start at 30, right? It starts beyond 30 and it's a dashed line, and it goes up to here. And you've got you're just shading in. The number of tricycles, and the correct answer I think was E, the number of tricycles is less than 100, and the number of tricycles exceeds 30. Well, yeah, because here's tricycles going this way. It starts at least at 30 and goes up to here. If you have this many tricycles, you're going to have 0 bicycles because it's on the x-axis, right? So they're asking you that this picture equals which one of these. The number of tricycles and bicycles together is less than 100. Because if I put my point right here, I have like 94 tricycles, but how many bicycles do I have right here? Like 5, something like that. If you poke right in the middle, a point right here, you've got like 40 tricycles, and you've only got like 30 bicycles. Any place within here, it's going to add up to less than 100. And that again was a probability arrangement, reading graphs, that kind of thing. Okay, next, a new subject area, time savers. And you've got these, but I'd like to explain some of them to you. And some of them are pretty general. Again, you've got to memorize the formulas and be able to apply them. I mean, ACT, totally different from any of the other tests. SAT gives you a few formulas because you hardly ever use them on the test. But ACT is definitely a formula-based test. And you've got the sheets now. You've got to get midpoint, distance, all the circle ones, and nobody can memorize for you. You've just got to do it. Again, what I've said to you a couple times tonight, work the first 20 problems as quickly as possible so you have more time to spend on it. Because you saw how many of the last 20 you can do. You just have to be able to get there to do them. Use a calculator, sparingly, not on every problem. Know your multiplication facts. I know that sounds crazy, but it all starts knowing your multiplication facts. Don't forget you can guess. There's no penalty for wrong answers on any of the tests now. And if you do guess, circle the problem number in your booklet, that if you have time you can come back, but you probably won't have time. And then avoid rewriting the problem. It may be hard to see, but you can see it on yours. If you've got 3x plus 6 equals 7x minus 9, you don't have to go out and rewrite it. You can just multiply through and add, and you get 6 plus 9 is 15 equals 4x, and then solve for x. And just write. They give you enough space between problems that you can write them there. Fraction problems, please simplify. Don't multiply, 8 times 6 and all that business. You can do 8 into 8 goes 1 time, 8 into 16 goes 2 times, 2 into 2 goes 1 time, 2 into 6 goes 3 times. Simplify. And then you can work out the problem. And let's review our exponents. When you're multiplying, what do you do with the exponents? Add them. Right, add them. So I've got x to the 5th times x to the 13th, which I hope that's an 8, would be x to the 18th, and then y to the 4th times y to the 3rd is y to the 7th. And again, if you just visualize in your minds, remember I said this means y times 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 y. You got 7 y's there and 14 of them written down there. Obviously you can cross out 7 pairs and you'll be left with a y to the 7th. If you can visualize in your mind what those exponents mean, that they mean write me so many times. But yeah, no canceling of fractions, simplifying of fractions. That's real important. And again, this one, don't bother. The 2 equations they gave you were x plus y equals 32, x minus y equals 12. So put this one under this one, multiply through if you want because you're subtracting. X minus x is gone. And always solve for the one they want. Don't mess up and solve for x, and then you have to spend more time solving for y. I should have underlined. Underline. They want you to solve for y. So solve for y. Follow their lead. This I really believe in. Instead of using x's and y's, use variables that are meaningful in the problem. A publishing company ships hardcover textbooks in boxes that weigh 56 pounds each and softcover workbooks that weigh 35 pounds each. And they were going to several schools. They weighed 2,604 pounds and contained 6 boxes. How many boxes of solve? And I didn't solve it for you, but don't use X's and Y's. Use H as hardcover, S as softcover. Same thing here. You're making holiday wreaths. 20 minutes to make a small, 30 minutes to make a large. She'll make twice as many. So S is the small and 2S is the large. You don't have to use X's and Y's. And then this one, I see over and over, don't distribute. Pick up your pencils and underline that. Don't distribute when solving for a variable if the variable already has a coefficient of 1. That's real wordy, but the point is, they want X. They want 1X. You've got 1X. If you distribute, you'll have what? 12X. Don't make it more complicated. Keep it at 1X. In other words, divide through by 12. What I'm saying is you've been brainwashed that every time you see parentheses, you want to distribute. Think first. See what they want. Don't make your X have more garbage attached to it when you have what you want. Does everybody see what I mean? Get rid of the 12 by dividing both sides. And I guess it was, yeah, they wanted, here was my problem. I divided both sides by 12, and now I've got x minus 11 is negative 15 over 12. Add 11 to both sides. Common denominator is 12, so I have to do this plus that and get that. But yeah, watch it. Just make a note to yourselves. You don't always have to distribute. That is the note I want you to write down. I call these smushing. In other words, if you have 2 equations and you want to combine them, you can combine with substitution. You all have learned that. But you can also combine using addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Here, they want y. And you've got 2 equations. What's x minus x? 0. He's gone. And y minus, be careful, y minus a negative y is 2y. And then opposite of a minus b, and you're finished. Right. So just know that there's 5 ways, and if anybody wants to email me, I'll send you the sheet on how to combine using addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, but you should have had that in Algebra 1. This is the one I was talking about. They go into a lot of verbal to describe a picture. So number 1, do not be afraid of it if they use 5 lines, 5.5 lines, 6 lines. All they're doing is describing. They got 50 feet here, 45 feet here. It said that her line of sight is 5 feet right here, so her total length is 50. Yeah. And then always, please, identify. The question said, which of the following gives the angle here? This is a leg, right? This is a leg. Tangent is the only one that uses legs. Look at the problems and look at the answer choices, and maybe only one of them will have tangent. It's easy. The ACT knows that you've got a lot to do, and they will find ways of making your life a little easier. Keep one eye on the answers, and I've mentioned that to you. Look at the answers. They're asking you for midpoint, which is the average of the x's, the average of the y's. And so if you average the x's, what's 1 plus 7? 8 divided by 2. Well, look, there's only one answer. It's got a 4 in it. Yeah. Don't find the y's. Keep one eye. And by the way, the other thing that I do that's the same, suppose, you know, what letter comes, X comes before Y in the alphabet? Thank you. Okay. But if I see 1, 1, 2, 3, and 2, well, it'll do it this way. 2 and 3. And then this is midpoint. And then I see 2, 4, 6, 8. Before I start finding midpoint, I look at my columns. My X column has a 1, a 1, a 2, a 2, and a 3. If I do my average my X's and I come out with 1, what am I going to have to do? I'm going to have to do one more step to see if it's A or B. But look at my Y column. They're all different. If I average those, I'm finished. So please make a note with midpoint especially. Keep one eye on the answers and don't do too much. I almost fell for that one at the bottom. What is the largest 2-digit integer that's divisible by 7 and multiple of 3? Well, it can't be K because it's a 3-digit, right? So underline and, you know, watch for things like that. Maximum value, start with the largest answer. Minimum value, you know, start with the smallest answer. That kind of thing. Oh, and definitely the hint here, use easy answers first when you're trying. Don't try hard answers. Try, again, the ACT knows you've got a lot of problems to do in a short period of time. And the minute you get an answer and it's given, would you please quit? Just quit. Well, choose numbers that are easy. That's important. Look what I did with that fraction problem down below. It was Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, so I wrote the percent sign down below. I've got 1/3 over 100. And so it's just 1/300 times 6/7. And that would be one that you should do without a calculator. Exterior angle, gang, this is the one that's, besides the circles, that has been on almost every test I've taken. And just, this is the Gellerism. The guy on the outside is equal to the sum of the two on the inside. So don't you dare do any more than that. In other words, guy on the outside is equal to the sum of these two. So immediately it is 51. Don't do, okay, they're supplementary, I'll find that. That's one step. Then I'll add these together, that's 2 steps. Then I'll subtract from 180, that's 3 steps. Your math teachers in geometry should have stressed exterior angle. Guy on the outside is equal to the sum of the two interior angles. Or you could do it, this guy's an exterior. He's equal to this guy plus that guy, but you'd have to find this one first, and it's much shorter to use him. But exterior angle, because it's a time waster if you do it another way. The ACT is given nationally 6 times a year. On 3 of those dates, so not all 6, December, April, and June, if you send in an extra $20, you get your test back. And this is what it looks like. You get a great big envelope, and in it, and this is the June. Yeah. That's excellent. In other words, for you all who are juniors, for you all who are juniors, this comes. It's an extra $20. If you're taking the SAT and you get a waiver, it's included in the waiver. That kills me. But anyway, you've got That's pretty nice. They give you, can I just show them right? They give you the right answer. They give you all your answers. It is the absolute best service that these testing companies provide. I know for your seniors it's too late, but for the juniors, please, please get a copy, order your test. It's only available for December, not the Ohio April, the actual national April, and then the June. You've just finished watching the 4th section of this math video that we know will prepare you much better for the ACT. Our work together might be finished, but you still have some more to do. Remember that several times during the video I mentioned about practicing. Some of the math you haven't had for several years. Remember that 25% of the math section is from pre-algebra. That means, you know, when was the last time you reviewed fractions and percents and decimals? And the Algebra 1 portion, certainly some of you took that way back in 8th grade. So it's important as part of your preparation to practice and practice. You might want to practice and to review this video again with a friend or maybe several friends. And don't forget, your teachers at your school are excellent resources. Perhaps talk with them if there's still some questions you have about the material that I've presented for you. Your teachers certainly could clarify. They also might suggest to you additional resources that you have at your school, at your library, and other places in your community. So I leave you with this word, practice. Thank you.